On today's episode of Watch JR Go, here's what happens when you destroy your $20,000 lawnmower. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and today it's been a while since we've done an update on the walker. So we're gonna go back a day to yesterday when I was mowing out front. I figured it was Father's Day. Why don't I get outside, mow the lawns real quick, make everything look nice. And I made it about 5 minutes in, and there was a cast iron cover that I didn't see. The wheel of the mower went over it, kicked it up at an angle, and the blades caught it, and it jammed. I'll show you guys right here. The blade, of course, was right here, and it caught that cover, and it jammed it right here, and the blade hit it, and at least I am glad the blade hit it with enough force. It did destroy it. All the blades are destroyed. There's chunks out of that one, chunks out of that one, chunks out of this one, and chunks out of this one, and this one now is bowed. This one goes like that. It's got a nice new shape to it. So it hit incredibly hard, jammed right there. But I'm just proud of this mower because it took a big old chunk out of that cover, and it deserved it for that one. So obviously, a lot of riding mowers, most of them are belt drive. And if you have a belt drive mower and you hit something like that, usually you maybe you spin the pulley on the belt and it might burn through your belt, and you'll hear a bunch of bad noises and you'll shut it off and everything will work out. Well, with a walker, you don't get any grace period. If something big and metal goes into the deck, of course, it's fully shaft driven, and these are locked together with a middle shaft and then a T, right? Gearboxes on each side. Well, you hit something really hard like that and the shear pins don't break, everything dies. So here's what happened. Here's what probably cost me $1,000 right now. So I pretty much had to make a video because we got to spend the day working on this because we have to get this thing fixed, and I'm back in operation so we can get the yard mowed. And of course, as soon as I hit it, I came here, I just drove it right back in the shop. I decided I was done with yesterday. It was time to give up on the day and try again today. So we did exactly that, but when I parked it, there was gearbox oil everywhere immediately. Just a huge puddle of gearbox fluid on the floor there, and it was a very bad color. And if you take a look right here, now that I have the blades off, I just went ahead and spun the blades off. It did break the shear pins on this blade.
Gosh.
Yeah, look at that.
Dude.
That's a crack. So these are aluminum housings on Peerless gearboxes. All night long, I was just holding out hope that I ruined this seal right here. And it was not the seal. I mean, it split that gearbox casing. So what we have to do right now, obviously I spun the blades off. That's an easy one. I gotta get new shear pins, another easy one. I have to get new blades because it bent the blades. What we have to do now is get the gearboxes off, the entire drive assembly off of this deck, and then run over, buy a new gearbox, and rebuild this whole thing real quick. We'll get into some more of the cool and also terrible things about working on this as we get this torn apart. And one of them is all the gearboxes are tied together with a center shaft, and that shaft shares the gear oil with all of them. So if you set the level in one gearbox and then you just wait a little bit, the gearbox oil is the same level all the way across all three. So unfortunately, it makes it a really nasty job if you have to work on this thing, because there's gearbox oil everywhere. At this point, say you've gotten this far, you need to get the gearboxes loose. So there's a nut here, and a nut here, and a nut here, and a nut here. We're gonna go ahead and break all those loose real quick. And I think we also, nope, not that. There must be just a few more. Here's the gearboxes we're talking about. We gotta get all of this stuff off the deck. You're supposed to take the whole assembly apart. Because if you don't, you can't get the splines out of the connection right here. Hopefully I can be mowing tonight because the yard needs mowed. And also these Peerless gearboxes, these are the 1000 series, which are aluminum housings. Now everybody's gone to cast iron housings, and they're called the 1200 series. And maybe they hold up better, who knows? But all I know is the Walker store down the street only has the cast iron ones in stock. So we're going to those. So now we're ready to put the deck down. We have the bolts out of the gearboxes. Luckily it comes with a handy dandy handle. These decks do weigh a little bit. Wow, what's holding it on? Just crack these two bolts here. How to work on a walker if you don't know how to work on a walker. I mean, I've just never taken the deck apart. I'm pretty good at the tractor itself now. I got a lot of hours in the tractor. Oh, come on. So you need a 7/16 wrench. Will make your life easier with this. 7/16 wrench acquired. Wow, that thing's on there. You slide it back and then you lift up. All right. We're learning the ways of the walker. So there's your PTO cover. This is good.
Yeah.
I needed to get in here and clean this up anyway, right? I can't be upset.
I mean, yeah, I've been telling you that for, at least a couple of minutes now.
Yeah, why don't you get in there and clean your truck?
Yeah, it's just clean.
Ow, this thing's heavy. All right. Well, we went ahead and did that.
Yep.
That one makes a lot of noise, so I'm not upset that I'm replacing it. This one doesn't make nearly the noise. That one's very notchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should just hook a cordless drill into this so we can hear it.
We could try another one of those spin tests with the AMSOIL additives and stuff, or the Lucas oil
That's
additive.
right. But the one thing we do need to do is make sure that we have them keyed the same, because they do have to be perpendicular to each other, right?
Yeah.
So right now this blade's this way and this blade's this way,
Right.
and it has to go back that way too, or it won't work. Ooh.
That was loose.
Yeah,
That was hand tight, man.
They come loose, apparently.
Jeez.
Yeah, they haven't been replaced since 2010, and this thing's got 2,000 hours on it. So it has been mowing and mowing and mowing for a very long time. So it's really, I'm not terribly upset. Yeah, it's really painful to spend this much money on this, but it does a great job mowing. It's so nice. It lays down perfect stripes. It's hard for me to complain. Let's just go get a gearbox, get this thing rebuilt, back on the road, and we'll just give everyone a belated Father's Day by mowing the lawn with nice stripes. What's Father's Day without nice stripes in the yard?
Yeah.
It's
Mother's Day.
That's
what it
right.
is.
Gabe's yard looks incredible because I just diamond cut it for him. Only with a walker.
It does look really awesome. I appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, dog. All right, so the walker master told me the way to do this is when you take it apart, put your broken gear. Look how broken it is.
Gosh, dude.
Dude, it's got a Y. It's broken in every direction. It hit hard. This thing instantly stopped. It was like mowing along. I was like, oh yeah, that's a bad day. You just know it's time to go home after that happens. Fun times.
Ricky Bobby done had a bad day. That's all.
Wow, that is also very loose. And there's seals in here, and it looks like this seal's leaking. So I actually think I should take them both apart and swap out the end seals. They're like cork seals that keep the gear oil from leaking.
I mean, I don't know if that one's even leaking. It looks like it's already leaked. It's already done, man.
It's covered. It is covered. So, deck maintenance. You can use many different colors of stain while you work on your deck. I love that these screws are all floppy in there.
We're not going to go for a commercial for Harry's Manscaping now, are we? With deck maintenance.
I think you just need Manscaped. They're just completely different things.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Okay. All right. How are we doing here on this mission? We're gonna have to clock all the gearboxes back. Oh! Well, this is interesting. So there's a bevel gear in there.
Yeah.
With a bunch of, look how tiny the splines are. Those are some very pretty looking splines. There's so many shafts. There's how you get, well, there's a mid shaft. It's ridiculous. Okay, so the bearing comes right off once you pull that one out.
That's why we take it to the club.
That's why so many All right, well, let's clean up this gasket and go waste at minimum $500, right? Oh, the gearboxes are $350 or something, and it needs a set of blades, and it needs shear pins, and I don't know what else it needs. It needs everything. Seals for both of them. Well, we had a leak over here. You can see on this gearbox that didn't break, There was definitely a bit of a fluid leak. It was a slow leak over time because there was fluid in this thing. I did check that when I started using it this year. So we decided to replace every single one of the seals. They're just gaskets between all of the gearboxes. So now, instead of just slapping a gearbox on and putting it back, we're of course taking a lot more apart. And here in a few minutes, we'll have this mid shaft off, intermediate shaft there. And then we can start RTVing and putting gaskets back on and dropping on our new gearbox. So it's not none of this is a terrible job, it's just time consuming. It definitely seemed like it was gonna be a much bigger job, but if you ever have to work on a walker, no big deal, just plan on it taking some time. Of course, we did just get back from the Walker dealership where we spent $450 on a gearbox, blades, and a couple gaskets and pins. So it's not exactly cheap. Oh, these are the 1050s. I thought they were 1200s. The old ones are 1000s. So the 50 is cast iron and the 1000 is the aluminum one. The cast iron one might weigh a lot more, but it also will probably last longer.
See if it throws off your cut.
The thing I'm worried about is it looks like they're, the snouts were different sizes, but now that I'm looking at them, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
And they changed how the seal's in there. The seal now is protected by a circlip with a washer on it, and the old one, the washer just screwed into place. So maybe it's a better design. I don't know. It seems like everybody's doing the cast iron ones now.
Many minutes later.
Well, it turns out resealing this thing takes an insane amount of time. We've probably got hour and a half on this now, Gabe?
At least.
At least. At least. We pulled all these bolts out and just there was so much old leftover RTV, and we didn't even know if these were supposed to be RTV'd, and neither did the dealership. The dealership said they RTV them every time, but nobody knows if that's spec or if it's just something that's been handed down. So we just went ahead and did the same thing and RTV'd them. So,
but with less than the previous
yeah,
ones.
somebody just poured these things full of RTV before.
I'm not actually sure this is going to work afterwards because of all the RTV we removed.
There was so much RTV. It was, we had to chase all the threads, we had to clean all the bolts. It was a process. So hopefully, if your mileage may vary, and hopefully it varies in the better direction. But, or just buy all new gearboxes. That's an option too. It's like $900 for all 3 gearboxes. Are we straight? We're straight. Well, and when I say straight, I mean perfectly offset.
That's what perfectly offset, we mean
straight.
Yes.
Yeah. Before I send this, I'm gonna brake clean this shaft here, clean all of the grease off it, and then feed it in there with some new grease. We're just trying to make this thing brand new again. It needed it. Honestly, they need taken care of. That's what it comes down to.
Just like Mom used to make.
There was a lot of dirt in this grease, and the last thing I want is dirty grease. All right, guys, we have the gearbox, the Mower deck drive assembly put back together. This is a project. I thought we were gonna just be in and out and be like, look, I broke some expensive stuff, but I broke some expensive stuff, and it would have been a lot of labor. So I'm glad we're doing it ourselves instead of sending this out. But here is our gearbox assembly. We have lubed up the other side of the drive shaft here. It is full of grease, and we went ahead and greased this while it was accessible. So now, all we gotta do is work this thing back in here very carefully. We have the drive shaft splined in, and the gearbox is sitting on the deck. Of course, over here, all I have to do is reassemble it, but over there, the new gearbox is threaded instead of using these giant washers that this thing's held on by. So this one has lock nuts and giant washers, and then the new one, we're just completely switching it up. So I'm hoping the bolts are the same. Now for the fun part, we have to refill the gearboxes. And since it's one like never-ending shaft with intermediate shafts, you have to let this thing, you fill it, and then you just keep waiting, and then you fill it, and you keep waiting, and you fill it, until eventually you pretty much got all the bevel gears covered all the way around. So we're gonna dump a bunch of gear oil in, check for leaks, and we'll find out probably in 15 minutes or so how we're doing here. But I'm just gonna squirt in as much gear oil as I can, level off one gearbox, and hopefully that's pretty close to where it needs to be. I don't think you're supposed to get them to the top because they need room to breathe. Expansion of the gear oil, all that stuff, because it gets a lot of heat load. I think you just fill it up, wait a little bit, and then make sure it's about halfway or something like that. I'll double check, but I think halfway is the number. That's the number,
It's
right?
a good number.
Right? Full factory spec.
50-50.
Yep, and it's gear oil. They say like E90 or something. I'm using 75-90. Other people on the Walker forums have said they just run 75-90, so that's what we're doing. It actually seems like it's half down again. It's moving pretty quickly. So that's the second time I've done that. I've filled this box all the way up and we're just letting it all traverse over to this one. And you're supposed to just let it sit for like 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour. The guys said go do something else and then come back to it after a while. What I'm gonna do is grease a lot of our maintenance spots here real quick, which are all these pins that the deck rests on. They all probably need one shot of grease. Oh yeah. One shot might have been optimistic because it came out immediately. There it is again. Urgh. All right, it's been about 30 minutes since we filled the gearboxes up, and if you take a look at this, you can see that they are level full. So, not level full, the exactly opposite of level full. You don't want them to be level full. They're supposed to be just over the shaft. So that's exactly where that one's set, and that's where that one's set. And that means now it's time to put in the brand new plug I have for this gearbox. This one's funny, it's got two plugs. I don't know why, maybe they decided you needed a little more flexibility when you're filling it or something. I don't know what the deal is with that. But it actually was so loose that the old gearbox fluid started coming out of it when I first bolted this thing on there. All we have to do after this is put this cover on where you put your feet. You know, the other thing is whenever you're mowing with these, you just, in your head, you just keep thinking that the drive shaft is gonna suck your shoelace in and rip your leg off or something like that. It just seems like, you know, on a normal mower that could happen. But I always forget that the drive shafts are completely in this sealed unit up here. So there's really no chance that's ever happening. It's just one of those things. It's like when you're thinking maybe a log truck's gonna final destination yet, you know, you never know. That was a lot of work today on something I didn't think I'd have to work on again forever. And we also greased everything. We went through and greased everything again because if you're working on it, you might as well do it all.
Twice.
Twice. That's right. That's how grease works, right? If you just keep putting more in, it gets better. Is that?
That's how I get away from the log trucks.
Make the road slippery?
Yeah.
Donkey Kong?
They just can't get up there.
All right, let's see if she starts now that it has gas in it. Full choke this time. One hop this time. Take it back now, y'all. Oh, keep cranking. We are back in business. Take a look at that. I got a couple stripes down in the yard. I'm gonna finish all this up real fast. It seems like it's cutting better than ever. I had high hopes that this would shut the deck up a little bit because the deck is very, very worry on this one. And a lot of guys on the forums say they just dump all the gear oil out and then pack the gearboxes with grease all the way to the top. And eventually it will fill the center one as well as soon as they get hot. And everything's okay. That seems crazy to me, but I have seen a lot of threads in the Walker forums where people say they switch to straight up grease. I'm gonna keep running the gear oil. It could probably be a little bit quieter, but I think what I put in is exactly what came out, and it's fine. Those last gearboxes were 14 years old. And if these go 14 years, I really can't complain. So, there you go, the Walker's back on the road, or the lawn, as it were. And I'm just happy to have it back and I can finish up the yard and get everything else done around here because it needed done. And we got out of this relatively scot-free for Walker prices. Like I said, you guys know these are 20 grand, every single part on these things. It seems like it's just hundreds of dollars. I need to buy a wheel and a tire over here. and that's gonna be $250. It's crazy. Like, I can buy a car for $250, or you can mow your lawn. You gotta pick. Decisions in life. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjairgo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Now I should just go do like Walker donuts and stuff. The outro is like figure eights. I do a lot of circles where I start from the tree and work out. Like his yard, I just did that. The rest of my yard, it's circles out. But figure eights would be kind of cool instead of diamonds.
Well, I've already walked it, so you don't have to worry about, you know, picking up on another loose plate somewhere.
Oh, good, good. Except for that giant railroad tie we left over there, right? That we
You're not mowing over there anyway,
the one
right?
we dug out of the ground?
Yeah, but...
we just found a railroad tie plate in the yard. Crazy.
It adds character.
It does. Or I guess I'm going to keep it or throw it in the scrap iron. I don't know.
I don't know.
I just know I got to finish mowing, so let's get to it.